It is the video seen around the world, a video prompting conversations. Minnesota man George Floyd lying on the ground, a Minneapolis police officer with his knee on his neck. Floyd would ultimately die. It's the video reigniting a long-running conversation about Black Americans dying during interactions with police and the lack of African American officers.
We want to make sure that we're breaking down those barriers, we're destroying those myths, we're having those meaningful conversations.
Tonight, police departments under the microscope as the push to recruit minority officers heats up. Good evening, thanks for being here. Police departments across Central Illinois say it is a challenge to recruit officers of color, now more than ever. The stigma comes from videos like that of George Floyd, and it's a driving factor in this challenge. Tonight, a deeper dive into how Central Illinois ranks when it comes to minority officers and what's being done to turn that around. WAND's Chris Carter now with this special I-Team investigation.
A summer night. Police lights fill the neighborhood. The responding officers are likely to have one thing in common. They're white and male. Minority police officers throughout Central Illinois are rare. Finding the officers is hard.
It's very difficult. That's one of my goals when I took over as chief almost 5 years ago.
It's tough right now, but we're doing the best we can.
Departments across the country and Central Illinois struggle with diversity. Digging through data from 5 police departments, the numbers tell the story. Starting with Decatur, a community with more than 70,000 people. The police department employs 145 officers. In a community that is nearly 21% black officers make up less than 4%. The department currently employs more than 93% white officers. Decatur Police Chief Jim Getz said diversifying the department is a goal.
I still think it's important for us to match the demographics of our community. I think if we can get more in line with our demographics, I think that helps the future of law enforcement with the African American community.
With less than 10 black officers on his force, Getz has an idea why that might be. And it has to do with situations like these. Police officers going into mainly black neighborhoods and making arrests.
A lot of times we don't control what neighborhoods we go into. It's based on a call from a citizen. The police are going into their communities and arresting mom and dad, and that comes with the territory of doing the job, but sometimes young kids see that and it's like, the police are the bad guy.
It is also the issue of perception. Getz says minorities may worry about how being a cop is seen by their peers.
It's the culture. They want to look down upon their own people who are working for police.
Chief Getz is not alone in his struggles. Of the 5 departments we looked at, including Danville, Urbana, Champaign, Decatur, and Springfield, the numbers don't reflect the community. Combined, the communities have a minority population of nearly 22%. Minority officers make up just under 8%. Springfield Police have the largest department with 241 officers, just 22 who identify as black.
You want your police department to represent your community, to have that connection with them. And I think here in Springfield, we're doing a good job of that.
Lieutenant Sarah Pickford handles recruiting for SPD. She says the department has improved its recruitment of minority officers, but times are still hard.
Care about black lives.
Nationwide protests have called for police reform. The push for change has impacted departments like Springfield and Decatur.
Black lives matter. Any bad press that police departments get always takes away from your hiring pool.
Teresa Hadley is the president of the Springfield NAACP. She says videos of police brutality should be a clue to police departments. It's time for change, or things will remain the same.
When you see a lot of bad behavior, do you really want to be a part of that bad behavior?
With the issue of racism not going anywhere, Hadley, Getz, and Pickford all said diversified recruitment is a must. At the Decatur Police Department, Chief Getz doesn't want the viral videos to be a deterrent for minority applicants. Instead, he's issuing a call to action.
It's my message to the minority community. If they think that there's issues with the police departments and police officers, then it's time for them to step up and be part of the solution. And by doing that, you get an application and you become a police officer.
We can bring officers in, especially officers of color, but we have to give them a sense of assurance, confidence, and family and community to make them want to stay once we hire them.
The task of hiring a minority police officer isn't just about finding a minority applicant. All of those we talked to say it's about building relationships and fostering change.
It's about forming that one-on-one relationship with someone and letting them know really what the job entails and how it's different from department to department.
We want to make sure that we're breaking down those barriers, we're destroying those myths, we're having those meaningful conversations.
Because at the end of the day, representation matters to minority communities and those doing hiring. Chris Carter, WAND News.
Local police departments are working to turn that trend around. Both the Springfield and Decatur departments are currently hiring. The application process for the Decatur Police Department, it ends on August 31st. Chief Getz says they have 38 African American applicants. Springfield police are accepting applications through September 9th. More in depth now. Nationwide, the issue of fewer minority police officers is not as big an issue. Census data we obtained shows a pretty even split. Nationwide, about 65% of police officers are white. The U.S. population is 62% white. Black officers make up about 13% of the U.S. workforce. The U.S. black population is just over 13%. You can read more about the lack of minority police officers and see the data we used right now on WANDTV.com.